Well, I remain in significant need of a shower and shave, but let's do this video anyway. I don't know why, because almost nobody's watching, hardly getting 100 views anymore, but persevere. Had Rich Rodriguez and Jeff Casteel in interviews today, press conferences, picked up bits of information. Finally got one or two questions asked that should have been asked the very first freaking press conference. We'll get there. First, this is WVU Football Going Deep. I am Forrest Poston. Dirt and all. Please subscribe if you are here at all, and comment, click the thumbs up button and the notification bell, tell your friends. And I apologize if I blink too much. I am looking towards the light, and I have cataracts that do not like looking toward the light. So, my apologies. I will try to keep my eyes open. Now, based offensive line, talked about a bit in the previous video, and the subject of Buchanan did not come up. Probably would not have answered anyway, but we go on. I did say basically the guys who are here aren't ready, but they are going to be ready. He thinks they will do a good job. He is, not unpleased or displeased with where they are in terms of learning things. They have the athletic ability. That's the start. Of course, the guys who were here before, the system is not that different. They did run a good bit of zone blocking. It wasn't all zone blocking, but guys are familiar with it. Biggest thing is terminology. And that's, that's something we go through from time to time. And it should not be a big deal in the long term. And I think every single press conference, Rodriguez has said that he needs to be more patient. Whether or not that's ever going to happen, of course, now, I have said in the past, not in these videos, but learning patience only takes two things: time and patience. So, we shall see, or not. Finally asked about Eddie Vesterinen. Now, when asked about Eddie V, he doesn't know that name, but that's more or less understandable, probably. But yeah, I asked about Eddie Vesterinen. He is practicing. He is limited. But at least, he is at least involved. Don't know just how much, but that's better than being on the sidelines. Still don't know who all is on the sidelines. Evidently, there are people who do, and they just don't bother telling us. So I'm getting tired of asking. They're getting tired of me asking, and I'd quit asking if they would give a simple, straight, basic, journalistic integrity kind of answer. I'm going to get myself banned in a moment. Now, Rodriguez is not happy with depth overall, exception being quarterback, and that's a change. He has said in the past, might go for another one or two quarterbacks. He specified not expecting to take a quarterback in the portal. Now, I would guess that also means he's not expecting anybody to leave in the portal. If that changes, if somebody leaves, of course, we might be looking at the portal. I could, in theory, see them standing pat even if somebody does go in the portal. Asked specifically about, I believe it's Bandits, said Siders has had a good camp. Sick yesterday, but has been good overall. And of course, should be, since he, has been playing for 4 or 5 years, I forget which. Robinson, again, he's one of the guys they have high hopes for, has shown flashes, but has also been limited by injury for the last week or two. So, we are getting some details bit by bit. Not a lot, and still not a lot of very specific questions being asked, but we're getting there. Also discussed leadership, especially, from players. I like, he said he really prefers leadership that teaches. And that's, I like hearing that. He also said he's not worried about the rah-rah stuff. Now there's, hey, if I were in Morgantown instead of Evansville, and could get into these press conferences, I would have asked what he means by not worried about. Is, just that he figures that takes care of itself, or if he doesn't think it's important. And I consider that to be an important distinction. If you think back, well, you've heard me mention it more than once. Dana Holgerson, one of the very first quotes was, "I don't believe in all that rah-rah stuff." And that was a big problem because people are part rah-rah stuff. And Holgerson is as close to zero empathy as you can get without being pathological. Really, X's and O's were his thing. He had trouble dealing with the fact that people on the field didn't necessarily do exactly what happened when he drew it on the board. The difference between X's and O's and people was kind of hard for him to cope with. Now, the flip side of this, and there's a video of Rodriguez at practice, a couple different versions, one with him mic'd up, and then we get part of this at the end, where he talks about, sharing the hard work. And the hard work is important because it increases the sharing. And it does. But, saying, this is what you will remember. Sharing this with each other. Well, that's rah-rah stuff, guys. It really is. Now, there are variations of it. Rodriguez takes a relatively military approach to football. Using the suffering as a bonding tool, as perhaps the bonding tool. And the strain, the struggle, got to be there. But yeah, I just found it interesting that we have him on video talking about what is, to some degree, rah-rah stuff. It's a little less rah-rah, than other ways of doing it. And then saying he doesn't worry about the rah-rah stuff. Again, maybe because he thinks it takes care of itself. Okay, I know I'm about the only person out there who finds it funny. Also, he said that, and he went on this a good bit. Lack of situational awareness is driving him nuts. Not just with this team, he said it is football wide and has always been football wide. Now, of course, part of it is we are dealing with humans, not X's and O's. But talking about, hey, it's third down, and you're either going to be, a good chance of going in with the kickoff of the punt team or something like that. And he thinks the players should be ready. Makes sense. Can't understand why they aren't. Now, it's happened to him, his teams. He pushes situational awareness, and it still happens. Well, people are imperfect. Doesn't mean it doesn't drive us nuts, but people are imperfect. But that's a big focus, and it's important. It's still going to, mess up. Two examples of the importance of situational awareness under stress would be when Frazier got hurt. And, getting off the field and having Yates, sorry about that, be aware enough to get his butt downfield, get his helmet on, and get in the game without being called. And that second half got overlooked, but he was a ways down the field, not expecting to have to go in. Situational awareness matters, but at the same time, if your players are into the game, it is easy to not stop and rationally think about what's next. And especially if there have been some changes, somebody's injured, you're not usually on this team or that team. But it does matter. Big deal to him, and it still happens. So, which also means it will probably happen, this season. Imperfection. The Casteel press conference was relatively brief, focused more really on his relationship with his son than on the current team, and also his past history with Rodriguez, which goes all the way back to when they both started coaching in West Virginia. Casteel did specify Curtis Jones and Siders doing good things in camp. He likes the Bandit group overall. They're young. Siders is the veteran. Other guys, pretty dang young. But really think they should be good at that position. Now, I forgot, I wanted to talk a little bit about the depth issue, because this is something that Rodriguez is going to have to come to terms with, and I don't think I know he clearly hasn't from how he keeps talking. 105 players, you can't have all the guys you want at some of these positions. We probably now will need one or two more offensive linemen. He still talks about wide receiver. He didn't today. Of course, we've added Fox. But you can't have, 10 guys at every position, because you have 15 fewer total spots. You're just not going to have full depth at every position. It's got to be a new balancing act, and I am curious to see how he's going to do it. You know, I've said before, I think we're overloaded on defensive backs. I think we're overloaded on pass edge rushers. Um, so, of course, some of the edge rushers, they should be able to play on the line. Um, yes, I mean, some of them are more bandits, some of them are more, a fast defensive end. We'll see how it all pans out. I think it might be sometime in June that limit kicks in. Of course, the whole house settlement has still not been officially approved, so there could be changes in the basic rules by the time we get approval. I haven't seen any serious talk of major changes, but getting it done, that's still a different story. All right, guys, I appreciate you being here. Uh, if you are here, I appreciate me being here. And I'll be talking to you later. Maybe my voice will stop cracking. And I do have a live show coming up Thursday night. So long.